the watcher in shadows. Every night, as the world succumbs to silence, I feel the weight of unseen eyes upon me. It starts as a whisper of movement, a shift in the darkness that lingers at the foot of my bed. A figure, tall and indistinct, watches me with an intensity that I can feel in my very bones. I lie there, paralyzed, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The air grows thick, heavy with the scent of decay that seeps into the room like a malevolent fog. I muster the courage to reach for the lamp, my hand trembling as I fumble for the switch. Light floods the room, and the figure vanishes, leaving no trace it was ever there, except for the smell, that putrid reminder that lingers in the air. I tell myself it's a trick of the mind, a shadow cast by the moonlight, but the fear that clutches at my throat feels all too real. Days bleed into nights, and the visits become more frequent. I start to see it elsewhere, in the mirror, down the hall, always just out of sight. Its presence is a constant pressure at the back of my mind, a whisper that never quite fades. I begin to question my sanity, wondering if the stress of life has finally fractured my mind. Desperate for answers, I delve into the history of my home, searching for any clue that might explain my nocturnal visitor. The local library holds records of the previous occupants, and a chill runs down my spine as I read about a tragedy that occurred over a century ago. A man, they say, died in my room, his life taken by a mysterious illness that left his body decayed and unrecognizable. I decide to confront the entity, to demand answers or at least some semblance of peace. That night, as it appears once more, I speak to it, my voice barely above a whisper. "What do you want from me?" There's a shift in the air, a coldness that wraps around me like chains. The figure moves closer, and for the first time, I see the glint of eyes, hollow and filled with an endless darkness. It doesn't speak, but I hear its voice in my head, a guttural rasp that sends shivers down my spine. "You are not alone," it says, and I realize with horror that it's not just watching me, it's waiting. As I sit up, determined to face my fear, the light flickers and dies, plunging me into darkness. The smell of decay grows stronger, and I know that this time, turning on the light won't save me. The figure looms over me, and I brace myself for what comes next. The nights blur together, each one a repetition of the last. The figure remains, a silent sentinel at the edge of my bed. I've grown accustomed to its presence, though fear still coils in my chest like a serpent waiting to strike. My dreams have become fractured, filled with shadows and half-formed memories that slip through my fingers like smoke. I research further, desperate for answers. The man who died here, the one whose decayed body still haunts these walls, was a recluse, a scholar obsessed with forbidden knowledge. His journals speak of rituals performed in secret, of whispered incantations that tore at the fabric of reality. He sought to breach the veil between worlds, to glimpse the forbidden truths that lie beyond moral comprehension. I wonder if he succeeded. The figure grows bolder. It no longer vanishes when I turn on the light. Instead, it lingers, its eyes boring into mine. Its voice echoes in my mind, a chorus of anguished whispers that claw at my sanity. "You are the key," it says, and I shudder, unable to comprehend its meaning. I seek out a medium, a woman with eyes like ancient pools. She listens to my tale, her fingers tracing invisible sigils in the air. "The veil is thin here," she murmurs. "The dead walk alongside the living, their footsteps echoing through time." She warns me of the dangers, of the hunger that gnaws at the edges of reality. The figure, she says, is a guardian, a sentinel meant to keep the balance. But why me? I ask, my voice trembling. "Because you are attuned to the other side," she replies. "Your dreams are doorways, your mind a bridge. The figure seeks something you possess, a memory, a fragment of truth." I delve deeper, desperate to understand. The scholar's journals speak of a ritual, a way to pierce the veil and glimpse the forbidden. I find the incantation hidden within the pages, words that twist my tongue and burn like acid. I recite them, my voice a desperate plea, and the room trembles. The figure steps forward, its eyes aflame with hunger. And then it speaks, its voice a cacophony of lost souls. "The truth awaits," it says, and I feel the ground shift beneath me. Reality fractures, and I am pulled into a maelstrom of darkness. I wake in a place that defies description, a realm of shifting shadows and forgotten memories. The figure stands before me, its form flickering like a dying candle. "You sought the truth," it says, "and now you shall find it." The smell of decay surrounds me, and I realize that I am not alone. Other figures emerge from the darkness, their eyes hollow and hungry. They reach for me, their fingers cold as death. I scream, but my voice is lost in the void. And then, just as the darkness threatens to consume me, I wake in my bed, drenched in sweat. The figure is gone, but its words linger. The truth awaits. The boundary between worlds blurs, and I find myself trapped in a place that defies logic, a shifting labyrinth of shadow and memory. The air tastes of ancient secrets, and the ground trembles beneath my feet. The figures surround me, their eyes hollow and hungry, their whispers a symphony of lost souls. "You sought the truth," they say, their voices echoing through the void. "Now you shall find it." I stumble forward, driven by a desperate need to understand. The scholar's incantation still echoes in my mind, its syllables etched into my very being. I recite it again, my voice raw and trembling. The darkness responds, twisting and warping, and I see glimpses of forgotten worlds, cities of bone, forests of thorns, oceans of ink. The figure steps forward, its form flickering like a dying flame. "You are the key," it says, and I realize that I am not alone. Other souls emerge from the shadows, their faces twisted in agony. They reach for me, their fingers cold as death. I try to scream, but my voice is lost in the void. And then, just as the darkness threatens to consume me, I wake in my bed, drenched in sweat. The room is silent, the figure gone. But its words linger, the truth awaits. I search for answers, desperate to break free from this nightmare. The medium's words haunt me, the veil is thin here. I delve into forbidden texts, seeking a way to banish the figure, to close the rift between worlds. But the more I learn, the more I realize that I am part of something larger, a cosmic tapestry woven with threads of decay and longing. The figure returns, its eyes aflame with hunger. "You are the bridge," it says. "The one who can see beyond the veil." It reveals its purpose, to feed on memories, to devour the fragments of truth that linger in our minds. It craves the taste of forgotten knowledge, and I am its unwitting vessel. I confront the figure, my voice steady despite the fear that coils within me. "What do you want from me?" "To remember," it replies. "To see what lies beyond. To unravel the mysteries that bind us." I close my eyes, reaching for the incantation. The room trembles, and the figure steps closer. "Speak the words," it urges. "Open the way." I hesitate, torn between curiosity and terror. But the memories flood back, the childhood whispers, the forgotten faces, the half-formed dreams. I recite the incantation, and reality fractures. I find myself in a place of shifting shadows, a realm where time has no meaning. The figure stands before me, its form flickering. "Welcome," it says, and I understand, I am not the first. Others have walked this path, glimpsed the forbidden truths, and paid the price. The figure leans closer, its eyes burning. "The truth awaits," it whispers, and I see it, the cosmic tapestry, the threads that bind us all. I glimpse the forgotten cities, the forests of thorns, the oceans of ink. And at the center of it all, a void, hungry and vast. I wake in my bed, the room suffused with the scent of decay. The figure is gone, but its words echo, the truth awaits. And now, as the nights stretch into eternity, I wonder, what lies beyond the veil? What secrets await those who dare to see? Story 2. The Third Plate. I always believed our house had a soul, a kind of quiet presence that lingered in the hallways and whispered through the cracks. But lately, it's been more than just a feeling. It started with small things, a shadow flitting in the corner of my eye, the faint smell of tobacco where no one smoked, and an extra plate at dinner that my wife, Eliza, set out religiously every night. "Who's it for?" I asked the first time, trying to keep my voice light. She smiled, a distant look in her eyes. "For our guest," she said, and turned back to her cooking. I thought nothing of it then, a quirk, perhaps a new game of hers. But the plate was there the next night, and the next. It was on a cold Thursday evening when I decided to confront her. The table was set for 3, the aroma of roasted chicken filled the air, and there it was, the third plate, with its silverware neatly aligned, as if waiting for someone to arrive. "Eliza, this has to stop," I said firmly. "It's just us two. Why the extra plate?" She looked at me, her eyes hollow, her voice a whisper. "He's already here." Chills ran down my spine as the room temperature seemed to drop. I glanced around, half expecting to see someone, but we were alone, or so I thought. That night, I woke to the sound of hushed conversations. I tiptoed down the stairs, the words becoming clearer, a man's voice mingling with Eliza's. My heart pounded as I reached the dining room, only to find her sitting alone, an empty chair across from her, the plate from dinner still untouched. "Eliza, who are you talking to?" I demanded, my voice barely a whisper. She turned to the empty chair, a sad smile on her face. "Can't you see him? He's right here." I followed her gaze, but saw nothing. The room was silent now, the eerie feeling of being watched settling over me. I reached out, my hand hovering over the chair, and that's when I felt it, a cold spot, a void in the air. The days blurred into weeks, and the third plate became a fixture in our lives. Eliza spoke to our unseen guest, her voice soft and reverent. She set out his favorite meals, steaming bowls of chicken soup, hearty stews, and fragrant curries. I watched her, torn between concern and curiosity. "Why does he stay?" I asked one evening, my patience wearing thin. "What does he want?" Eliza's eyes held secrets, and she traced the rim of the empty plate with her finger. "He's lonely," she said. "He lost something precious, and now he lingers, unable to move on." I scoffed. "A ghost?" "Eliza, this is madness." But the house disagreed. Shadows danced on the walls, and the air grew colder. I heard it too, the faintest whisper, like leaves rustling in the wind. Words I couldn't quite catch, a language from another time. One night, unable to sleep, I followed the sound. It led me to the attic, a place I rarely ventured. The wooden steps creaked under my weight, and as I reached the top, I gasped. The room was transformed, a cozy study with an old oak desk, yellowed papers strewn about, and a flickering oil lamp. And there he sat, our guest. A man in a faded suit, his face etched with sorrow. His eyes met mine, and I stumbled back, my heart pounding. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice echoing in the small space. He spoke, his voice like distant thunder. "I was a writer once," he said. "A lover of stories. But I lost my way, and now I wander, seeking redemption." "Why here?" I asked, my fear mingling with pity. "Because of her," he said, pointing to a sepia photograph on the desk. A woman with Eliza's eyes, her smile hauntingly familiar. The man in the attic revealed his name, Elijah Grayson. His eyes held memories of ink-stained pages, of stories whispered to the moon. He had been a writer, once celebrated, but his words had turned dark, twisted by grief and loss. Eliza listened to his tales, her face illuminated by the oil lamp. "He promised me eternity," she said softly. "A pact sealed with ink and blood." I shivered. "What kind of pact?" Elijah's gaze bore into mine. "To write the most haunting story ever told. A tale that would echo through time, binding our souls together." "But why?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Because she loves stories," he said, pointing to the photograph. "My Eliza. She believed words held magic, that they could bridge worlds." I glanced at the woman in the picture. Her eyes mirrored Eliza's, and suddenly, I understood. Elijah had written the forbidden story, a cursed narrative that consumed its readers. Eliza had paid the price, her life entwined with his. As days passed, I watched them, the living and the ghost, drawn together by an invisible thread. Eliza grew paler, her laughter fading. Elijah's presence intensified, the air thick with forgotten promises. One stormy night, I confronted him. "Release her," I demanded. "Break the pact." He laughed, a hollow sound. "It's too late. The ink has seeped into her veins. She'll write the final chapter." Eliza sat at her desk, her pen scratching paper. Words flowed, sentences unraveling secrets. I read them, my heart pounding. In the house where shadows dance, a third plate waits. The unseen guest whispers, and the walls tremble. Eliza writes, her fingers guided by a phantom hand. The ending approaches. Will you listen? The attic door slammed shut, and I raced up the stairs. Eliza sat there, eyes vacant, the ink staining her skin. Elijah stood beside her, his form flickering. "Finish it," he urged. I grabbed the pen, my hand trembling. The words flowed, a chilling finale. The house groaned, the walls closing in. And then, silence. Eliza slumped, her breath shallow. Elijah faded, his pact fulfilled. The third plate shattered, and the room exhaled. But as I looked at Eliza, I knew the story wasn't over. The unseen guest had found a new vessel. And tonight, as I set out the plates, I hear the whispers. The ink stains my fingertips, and I write, desperate to break the curse. The end. Subscribe for more. Thank you.